Hey mamas, it's Kristen Noel, founder of the Intuitive Divorce, and I'm popping on here right after class with my beautiful team member, Master Coach Joe Young. And we just had another gorgeous class today where we dove into this topic of overwhelm, which is a theme that seems to be coming up. And it's not surprising because most of the mamas in the intuitive divorce are the fixers, the people pleasers, the ones that show up for everything, try to control all outcomes, and lose themselves at the at the bottom of the laundry basket. And then you throw in a divorce. And so they take on some more. And they want to show up with a happy face and snacks for soccer practice. And it's just a lot. It sneaks in different ways, right? So I've been hearing a lot of mamas say, like, I'm just exhausted, I'm drowning, I'm drained, I'm spiraling. It's all code for overwhelm. So we just decided to unpack that today and to talk about all the sneaky ways and not so sneaky ways that it shows up. And most of all, how when you feel overwhelmed, you show up in overwhelm. You make decisions in overwhelm, and your overwhelm is the way in which you interact with everyone. And what that usually results in is regrettable actions and regrettable words. And there's just a better way. And so it's so gorgeous to sit in this container with mamas who get to come and share their experiences and to sort of contemplate this notion of where they could allow some room for capacity, more capacity to, I don't know, let go of something, create space for something else, and that something else is you, mama, is your needs, is what will support and nurture you as you navigate through this process. And how we can sort of retrain ourselves to make that our new norm, right?
Yeah, it was really beautiful today to hear the different ways that overwhelm shows up, to recognize the different ways that it can impact, whether that's things coming out sideways, like you said, regrettable actions, or some people use overwhelm to keep them completely stuck and they make no action.
Mhm.
So it's an important awareness to go, yes, I recognize I'm feeling overwhelmed right now. Now, what do I do with it? How
Mhm.
is it impacting me? What choices can I make around it? And so it was really fun today to be able to take a tough subject because let's face it, there's a lot going on in our world around us.
Mm.
And that also, the energy of that also impacts us. And the more people are impacted, the more the overwhelming the energy becomes. So it's kind of a macrocosm of the microcosm of self, right? So starting with self is recognizing it, knowing what's going on. And I loved how you said today, using it as an indicator, using it as like a flashing red light on the dashboard, so to speak, that
Yeah,
something's up and
we
something needs to shift.
right. We often refer to that because, as soon as we say, like, okay, I'm driving the car and there's a flashing red light on the dashboard, am I going to ignore it and drive 100 miles? No. I'm going to pull over. I'm going to check out what's happening. I'm going to take it in for a service. It's an indicator. When the flashing light is us, it's like a totally different story. Like, I don't see you. I don't hear you. I don't know what to do with you. And it really is an invitation. It really is an invitation to, one, see what I can do differently here. Maybe that's just asking for help. Well, also, one of the things I want to say is that divorce is temporary. It could be a long temporary, but it's temporary. So, in this state of temporary, you are going to have to let go of something, but that is okay. It's temporary, and you can come back to it later. But you can't keep showing up for all things at all times in all ways. That's a recipe for disaster. So,
Yeah.
you
One
really,
of the things we talked about on that front was the roles that we play, right? And
Mhm.
how to be aware of what those roles are and what roles that we play are causing us the most overwhelm. And
Mhm.
so perhaps one of the things we have to let go of are the roles.
Mhm.
Is thinking that we have to show up and be Wonder Woman, that we have to show up for every single thing that we don't necessarily even want to show up for, that we can do everything. So yeah, I loved that
One of the,
that was one of the first things we talked about,
yeah,
was perhaps letting go of the expectation.
right. Literally, when we started the conversation today, I think the first mama that spoke was saying, and this was really poignant. She said, I really thought once he was gone, once he was out of the house, once this divorce was filed, once there was momentum, I was going to stop feeling overwhelmed. And the reason that was so important is that was an indicator that the overwhelm isn't out there. The overwhelm is here. What are we agreeing to? What are we saying yes to that we need to say no to? What are we spiraling in? And you brought up this notion today that I loved about overwhelm being an addictive emotion.
Yeah, an addiction are those things we continue to do even though we're not good. We know they're not good for us, right? And overwhelm is one of those things. I mean, let's face it, when we're overwhelmed, we get a rush of adrenaline, our heart races, we feel sometimes alive, even though it can be obviously an extreme measure of that, but
Mhm,
it's what we get used to. And so when we're around a lot of chaos and we're around a lot of activity and our mind is going 100 miles an hour, we're being fed that
mhm,
and we become used to it and our bodies start to crave it almost. And so, there are a lot of cases, and I was an example of this, where I realized that when all the external things stopped causing overwhelm for me because I slowed a lot of things down, that I would do it to myself on the inside. I
because it
would
was a
just create
pattern.
more activity.
Right. It was a pattern.
Yes.
And that's why it was such an important. And listen, here's the great news about this. We bring this point forward not to make you feel worse about yourself, not for you to blame yourself, or not for you to judge yourself, or not for you to guilt yourself, but because this is actually really good news. Because if you're in charge of it, if you can see it, if you see the role that you're accepting, guess what, mama? You can do something about it. You can choose
Yes.
and you can say, it is no longer working for me. I no longer have the capacity for this, or I don't have the capacity for this right now. And that might feel better to your nervous system because you may be a little bit addicted to that role of the one, oh, just let me do it because nobody's going to do it the same way I'm going to do it. I'm just going to be the one that gets it all done because I get it done. I always get it done. Well, there's going to be a day you just can't get it all done. And then you're not going to feel really good about that. So finding ways, which is this is something that we really work with mamas on in this sacred container, is really helping them point out what their own solutions are. Because you know what the bottom line is? You know how to reduce your overwhelm. Our knee-jerk reaction is, well, I just don't see any place where I can reduce anything, or I don't have any wiggle room to let something go. That's a fallacy. That's a myth. That's the lie of overwhelm. And I'm not saying don't acknowledge the overwhelm. I'm just saying, okay, overwhelm, come on in, sit down. I got a few questions for you. What do you want me to see? What needs to change here? What can I let go? What can I do differently? What would feel good in my body? Because even today in class, I said, I'm not going through divorce any longer. And I still, I mean, if you're a human being walking planet Earth, you're going to feel overwhelmed and all the reasons that Joe had just even mentioned. But what are you going to do with it? How quickly you're going to see it? How you're going to move through it? How you're going to negotiate with it? And how you're going to pivot to something that feels better. That is taking agency over the things that you can control and just figuring out
Yes.
better ways of moving.
Absolutely. And one of the other things we talked about that's also poignant to add here is stop telling yourself how overwhelmed you are, how busy you are, how crazy you are, how you can't get everything done, because all you're doing is affirming the feeling
Mm,
instead of just going, okay, I am busy. Let me just write it all down, take one task at a time, make it manageable, and congratulate myself for every single step on this list that I get taken care of because I'm showing myself that I can, that no matter what's going on, I got it. It may not be to the level that I once could do it. That's okay. Let
mm.
good enough be good enough sometimes. right? But don't forget to acknowledge yourself for the things that you are doing and stop telling yourself only the messages about what you aren't capable of, how you're so overwhelmed, because that just feeds the overwhelm and
Hmm.
creates more.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah,
there's some beautiful tips and tools here.
there was another mom that was talking about something that really triggered her. Trigger is usually like takes you right over and says, "Okay, overwhelm, here you can have her now." You know? So when you're triggered and then you slip into overwhelm, really need to need to just stop. Stop, interrupt it. Just pause. You can say, "Okay, you're here. Yeah, exactly. Don't like this feeling. Don't like what's going on. I need to breathe. I need to pause. I need to think about this for a second. What's going on? Okay. I just got triggered by this information, this piece of paper, this document that I received. So what do I do?" So this mama just like shoved it to the side. And then she said, "I've been at work the whole next day." She said, "I've been at work the whole day and I haven't been able to think about anything else." So right in that moment, she came up with her own solution. And her own solution was, "I got to look at that document." Because shoving it over there and pretending I'm not overwhelmed by this or not triggered by this didn't make it go away. And actually, overwhelm isn't about over there, it's about here. So I'm going to take that piece of paper and I bet you it's not quite as scary as I thought it was going to be. So a lot of times it's just dealing with the thing that's in front of you. And when we say we don't have time for something, I mean, another example we used today in class was, okay, I know the plate is full, it's piled high. But for example, when an emergency happens, God forbid an emergency happens, you get a call from the school or something and you've got to run, you drop everything and you go. And all these other things are still here when you get back. And the mamas that are here in the intuitive divorce who are really trying to come up with conscious, grounded, loving, heart centered, and strategic solutions are mamas who have reputations for showing up. People know they're going to come back and they're going to finish this job or they're going to, they'll be back to work, but they got to deal with this first. Sometimes in life, the house is on fire. Most of the time, not. And we just have to really make that clear distinction about what can I do with the overwhelm when it descends upon me. It's always found in the pause. And in the pause, for some people, that's sitting in stillness. For some people, that's going for a walk, it's movement. But whatever it is, we really encourage you to just create the space for yourself so that you can process it, so that you can come up with your own solutions. This is how you ask questions about your needs. What do I need? Because this is an internal job. And if I want to divorce smarter and heal faster and protect my kids and reclaim my power, I need to pay attention to me.
Yes. And what's going on in the body, and how do I
Mhm.
bring that to a sense of calm,
Mhm.
even with everything else going on, right? We
Mhm.
talk about that a lot. So regulate your nervous system, bring yourself to calm, and then approach whatever it is you have in front of you one step at a time,
Mhm.
one step at a time.
Yeah, that's all we can do. And that's all you need to do. And when you actually do that very consciously, everything else will align.
Mm.
Everything else will align. And it brings you back to, what do I control?
Yeah. And one thing you always control is your response, is
Hmm.
your ability to take in this information and to start to live that way so that all of a sudden you can start to tell yourself, wow, I actually don't feel overwhelmed so much anymore. I actually can now feel calm. I can feel some peace around some things. I can get some things off my list without throwing myself and everybody else around me into a tizzy.
Yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
you always have this beautiful way. I'm always so grateful when you bring this up. Joe always has this beautiful way of reminding mamas to gather the evidence of all the places they've already done this, all the places that they have wins to celebrate. It's so easy to bypass because when you're in
Mhm.
divorce, it just feels like, boom, 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 landmine, landmine, landmine. And nothing could be further from the truth because there are these little wins along the way. And these little shifts, these micros are actually macros. And that's where we need to just sort of lean in, gather the evidence, remind ourselves what we're capable of, remind ourselves what our mission is. What do we want here? And I know if you're here listening to this, you want a better divorce. You want a
And
better
you're
path.
likely feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're likely
So this
feeling
is a great
overwhelmed.
topic. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. That you're likely feeling overwhelmed, but you want a better path to a better divorce. And it starts with releasing that overwhelm and giving yourself a hall pass and knowing that you're not alone in this. And there are a lot
Yes.
of ways to show up for yourself and support yourself and to build capacity. And that's what we're here to do because we love walking beside mamas and helping them reclaim their power and establish some boundaries and find new ways to honor themselves. And they are doing that right here, right now, in the messy middle of it all. So we really hope that this resonates with you and that has inspired you a little bit to look at your own overwhelm. And the fact that you're just here listening to this is actually a win for you. So we just want to acknowledge that you're taking the time for yourself because maybe you're just divorce curious at this point. But if that is the case, make sure you're in this equation. Make sure
Mm.
your needs, wants, and desires are in this equation because that is a game changer. That is strategic. And if you want to learn more about our work, please check us out at intuitivedivorce.com. Follow us on social, same thing, Intuitive Divorce. And we are just grateful that you're here listening to this and looking for a better path.
Yes. Thank you for another beautiful class.
You know, you too. Thank you, my friend. Bye.